In this lesson, we're going to be doing the continuity equation, and this is really conservation of mass. It's saying the water flow in rate in equals the amount going out, and it's going to be the important part of an initial look at fluid dynamics, which is how fluids are moving, no longer just sitting there in static. All right, so we've been talking about fluid statics. That is, water isn't really moving or the fluid isn't moving and things like that. But the more interesting and more complex scenarios are what happens when it's actually moving. What happens when the fluid is moving? And we're going to stick to a very, very simple model in this class, but fluid dynamics is a very, very advanced physics subject, mechanics. There's lots of research, lots of study into fluid dynamics. They can get very, very complex. So we're going to stick to some pretty simple assumptions and only talk about from simple things. So one of the big assumptions we're going to use is the continuity equation. And this has to do with the fact that the fluid is incompressible. Incompressible. I always have trouble spelling that word. Incompressible. That means we can't really squeeze it. Now, technically, you can squeeze water a little bit, but like for the most part, most of the fluids we deal with, we can't compress them. Now, this is very good for like, say, water, not so good or accurate for, say, air. So this is a pretty big, broad assumption. So we're really mostly going to do this when we're dealing with fluids and pipes. And water is the most common scenario. Almost all scenarios we deal with water, because water is generally incompressible. You can squeeze it a little bit, but for the most part, this is a pretty reasonable assumption for water. So when water is traveling through a pipe, and because we can't squeeze it, then what we have to think about, and this is about a kind of a rate, we think about the water going in, the amount in, has to equal the amount going out. Right? That makes sense. Like however much water is going in, the same amount has to come out on the other side of the pipe. And the reason that is because if there were a different, if more were leaving or more were coming in, then somehow we would have more water in there, or the amount of water contained in the pipe would be changing, and that would require it. If I'm adding water to it but not changing the volume of it, that means I gotta be compressing it. That means somehow the water is like elastic, like putty. I can kind of squeeze it and remold it and stretch it out, but that's not what we're assuming. We're assuming it fills up the same amount of space. You really can't change the amount of space that water takes up. So that's why we assume that the water coming in and the water coming out goes out. Now, the thing is, when the size of the pipe changes, okay, that may change the way that, or the speed of the water, right? So what you want to think about is, let's think about the volume in a certain amount of time. So let's say we have water traveling through this pipe in a certain amount of time here. So this is the time. It travels a distance delta S1 here. Okay, so we're saying like there's a water here based on its velocity. And delta S1, by the way, would be like the velocity of the water times how much time it takes, right? It would be the displacement of that water. That would be the amount of volume of water in that segment, in that amount of time that travels through that segment. And delta S2 would be the velocity. This is like distance is velocity times time. We're not talking about acceleration. So it's just literally distance is velocity times time. No acceleration here. So this would be how much water is traveling through here in the same amount of time. Okay. Now the volume, what we're going to equate is the volume here. So the volume of this little cylinder area, right? The volume here is going to be the area of the circle, right? And we'll call this cross-sectional area A1 times how thick this is times delta S1. And that has to equal the volume through here, which is the area of this circle times how much we travel through there. And because the thickness of that cylinder is equal to that, then you say A₁v₁T is equal to A₂v₂T. We're just plugging these numbers into here. And then the T's cancel and you get this. So the cross-sectional area times the velocities are the same for the two scenarios. We call that continuity equation. And that's literally just because we're saying the liquid's not compressible. The same amount of water that passes through in a certain amount of time on one side has to have the same amount of water coming out on the other side. That's all that principle is. That's all that's saying there. Okay, so let's go through an example. So we have water with the density of 1,000 kilograms per meter cubed, moves with the speed 6 meters per second in a horizontal pipe with a diameter of 4 centimeters. Okay, and then it's moving at 6 meters per second here. And then it shrinks into a pipe with a diameter of 1 centimeter, right? So this is 1 centimeter. And we want to know what is the rate of the mass of flow through the narrow section of the pipe. So let's first figure out what the velocity is, and then we'll talk about this kilograms per second in a minute here. So we're going to say, A₁v₁ equals A₂v₂. Now, in terms of area, this is an area of a circle, right? Because it's a pi r squared, pi times 0.0. So this is 0.04 centimeters. This is 0.01 meters. Just convert everything into SI units. The radius is half the diameter. The velocity is 6 here. And then this is pi times 0.005, because we're going to do half of the diameter, squared, pi r squared times v2. And you can solve for v2 here. v2 is going to be, should be, well, the pi's cancel. So you can get, you can do this by proportional reasoning, which is what I was just trying to do. But it should be 96 meters per second. Proportional reasoning would say like, oh, the radius is dropping by a quarter. So if you do a quarter of the radius squared, that's a 16th. So it has to be 16 times more the velocity to make it the same. But you can just solve it like that. Okay. So that is that's how fast the water is moving. Now, they're asking about what is the rate of mass flow. So if you ever get something that's like a weird unit, this is how I like to think about it. Think about, okay, what does that mean? How much water comes out in 1 second? In 1 second, how much water is going to come out? Well, 96 meters of water will come out. Implies 96 meters of water comes out. 96, like the length of however much in the air is 96 meters. And that's going to be a kind of a volume, right? It's going to be the cylinder. So the volume of water in that 1 second is going to equal whatever the volume of that cylinder is. So it's going to be pi times 0.005 squared times how far, times that 96 meters, right? So that will be the volume of water. So let's just calculate 0.05 squared times 96. That's going to be 0.00754 cubic meters of water. Okay. Now we want it, but we want it in terms of kilograms. And so if we have the volume of water, then the mass of the water is going to give you, how's that related? Well, by the density, right? Density times the volume. So we're going to multiply by 1,000, and you can always do a unit check, kilograms per meter cubed times the volume, cubic meters, and you get kilograms, right? So multiply this by 1,000. We're going to get 7.5 kilograms. Okay, so what does that mean? In 1 second, 7.5 kilograms came out, so that means it was 7.5 kilograms per second is how much mass of water came out, right? Now, it didn't really come out of the pipe, but we're passing through. So imagine that, it passed through that area. That's the same as like coming out. It doesn't really matter if it's open or closed. Mathematically, it's how much passed through that area. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, just to like improve the quality of the channel so it shows up more, so we can share this out with more and more students out there. The other thing is if you do need extra help, if you're needing maybe some more practice questions, more guidance on multiple choice questions, we do have program options to help you practice. Also run office hours. I answer questions for students, things like that. A little bit more just structured guidance. If you feel like you're needing some of that, go ahead and click the description below. There will be a link that takes you to a website where you can see about how the different programs operate for all the AP Physics and AP Calculus programs we run.